Welcome to Las Vegas, Nevada. For the first time, the Ultimate Frisbee Association delivers the Vegas Bighorns. It's Friday Night Frisbee presented by Pabst Light and our Pabst pregame show getting you set for the New York Empire and the Vegas Bighorns. Hey everybody, Evan Lepler back alongside Charlie Eisenhood. The UFA season, Charlie, got underway last night, and today we get the first night in Vegas. This is a different place. This is going to be a different night.
There's just a different energy in Las Vegas, and we've seen pro sports coming here to take advantage of this opportunity. All of the tourists in town, just the vibrancy, and I mean already the fans are getting hype behind us. And look, you know, this is a completely unknown team. We got a couple of players, people know their names, but for the most part, they're going to be learning about what it means to play in the UFA just alongside the rest of us watching them.
I'm thinking about the late Bob Uecker, his Harry Doyle character in Major League. We hope to know some of the names that go with those jerseys before the first pitch. That's the feel of this Vegas team. They got 7 guys in their active roster tonight that have played in the league before, but most of these guys are just getting thrown to the deep end of the pool against an angry New York Empire team.
Yeah, you know, I think probably Vegas would have preferred that New York win that game last night in Oakland in the opener, because now New York has stuff to work on and they're going to be coming out angry. And look, you know, the Empire are going to be heavy favorites in this game, but they should not take this Vegas team lightly. I mean, there are still some strong players out there. Vegas, very tall team, very athletic team, and they still have some guys like Steven Poulos and Joel Clutton who know how to play in this league and could cause some problems for the Empire.
Let's talk about what happened last night in Oakland. The Spiders were mighty impressive. They have a different feel to them this year, and the Empire felt the wrath of the Spiders' energy last night. We'll get to the Spiders and the Empire in a moment, but first we caught up with the new Vegas owner, James Shorey, a little bit earlier. I want to share those thoughts with you now.
Shorey. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I am the owner, the founder, and a player on the Vegas Bighorns, number 27. And 2025 is our first year of the franchise. I think the most prominent reminds me of telling one of my teammates yesterday is nervousness and excitement really are the exact same thing. So always remember that. So we're really excited and you know, very hyped because our subconscious is aware of the moment. You know, we only get to be our first game once. And as an owner, I'm, you know, looking forward to the years of this. But at the same time, you know, we're excited to kind of break the ice, I guess, with our first game. Well, I'll say right away, I like our chemistry. We've really bonded and represented well the fact that we don't all live in Las Vegas. So the vibes are great. You know, we haven't really faced adversity yet, and we know that's coming right around the corner, you know, at some point of this game. I mean, I think our team is comprised of players that come used to wind, and a lot of our training camps already this preseason has been wind. So I feel like that would be maybe a slight advantage, just because it's evens the playing field and wind in general. I want the viewers to know is Vegas is a sports town, and we're very proud to be ambassadors of this sport here. I mean, the uphill battle that everyone is aware of is, you know, Vegas isn't much of an ultimate town yet, but it's a town that will rise to the occasion. You know, the Golden Knights did this, and we think that ultimate is that much more of an accessible sport that's primed to grow here. So really looking forward to the test of the first game.
National anthem wrapping up here at Bonanza High School. You know, the Vegas Raiders and the Vegas Golden Knights certainly came with plenty of fanfare, and they've had some success as well. Bighorns are going to have a different task trying to do that tonight, but as far as last night goes, New York got punched in the mouth by Leo Gordon and Walker Frankenberg and Eli Kearns and everybody else on that deep Spiders team that is truly a contender. This New York team trying to answer some questions about themselves tonight.
Yeah, I think you saw some of the chemistry issues coming up against a team that's really a lot better in Oakland. I mean, we saw just how powerful some of those new players on that roster were, but also some guys who've been coming up Robin Vickers-Batzdorf kind of having this announcement game to the league. I mean, he's obviously a very good player, selected the U24 team, coming out of New York, and so like he had a lot to play for last night. So I think Oakland's got a lot to feel good about. But yeah, New York's got stuff to work on. I mean, their defense needs to play better. Their O-line had more turnovers than we've seen from them in a very long time, really since they kind of started this dynastic run in the league. So I think it's to be expected because they're still figuring out how to integrate all these new pieces into their offense. But yeah, they got to sharpen up tonight against a team that's going to throw a lot of weird stuff at them out there in swirly wind here in Vegas.
It's going to be a fascinating evening here in the entertainment capital of the world. Opening pull between the Empire and the Bighorns. Just moments away. Biggie is ready. Are the Bighorns ready? Ready or not? We're about to find out. Las Vegas is a place where stars shine and showmanship sizzles on a nightly basis. And tonight, for the first time ever, professional ultimate Frisbee officially arrives to the entertainment capital of the world. The Vegas Bighorns are ready to take the field in the Ultimate Frisbee Association against the powerhouse East Division juggernaut, the New York Empire. It's Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light, and it starts right now. There's no place in the world quite like Las Vegas, so it makes sense. There's no team in the UFA quite like the Bighorns. And today, the inaugural game for the newest team in the Ultimate Frisbee Association here in the season premiere of Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light, a view of the Strip. It's the 0-1 Empire coming off a 5-goal loss last night against the upstart Oakland Spiders. And the first game in franchise history for the Vegas Bighorns here at Bonanza High School. 4/25/25, a date that will be remembered for a long time here in Vegas. Delighted to welcome you to our broadcast with Charlie Eisenhood, the czar of Ultiworld. I am Evan Lepler, and there's just a lot of hype for this game. We don't know if it's going to be close. We don't know if Vegas has the horses to compete, but we know it's going to be interesting. And we also know that New York kind of desperately needs a win. There's a little sense of urgency early for the Empire.
Well, I mean, the East is such a tough place to play already. They're expecting to come out here and get a little easy start to their season, a couple of wins against the West and, you know, a division they've dominated historically, and all of a sudden they're on their heels losing last night. Now, look, they're much better than this Vegas team, but Vegas is ready to roll the dice with some crazy stuff. They got a bunch of really tall guys. They're going to play a lot of 2-3-2 zone. They're not going to throw a lot of typical stuff that the Empire are going to be seeing. Is that enough? I don't know. It's going to come down to their offensive line performance, I think. But, hey, the Bighorns, they're going to make it happen.
Let's talk generally keys to the game tonight, Charlie, as we think about, you know, the New York Empire trying to find their rhythm both offensively and defensively. There are some question marks. What's most important for New York this evening?
Well, look, I think for New York, they got to just bounce back after last night. I mean, that's the number one thing. They got to come out. They got to play with some fire. They got to realize that one game is not define their season, and that they have an opportunity tonight against an inferior opponent to kind of right the ship, get right, figure out the lineups, and start to connect that offense better together. You know, we want to see the cutters and the handlers playing better together. That was a problem last night.
All right, what does it mean to embrace the ugly for the Bighorns?
Well, I mean, look, they're not going to win this game playing a pure style of ultimate. And Matt Bowe, the head coach on the sideline, that's not his game. It was never his game. And he knows what it's like to play for this New York Empire team. He played on the team 10 years ago. Now he's out here. He's going to try to muck it up. We're going to see a lot of weird defensive looks. And if the Empire are patient, they should have no problem winning this game. But more than anything else, Vegas should just embrace this opportunity to play in the UFA. First game at home. Beautiful sunset here in Vegas. And it's a Friday night, so you know everybody's ready to go out after.
The return of Free Friday Frisbee, wherever you are, it's great to have you with us. Game 2 for the New York Empire. There's one other game going on, the Ultimate Frisbee Association tonight. The Austin Soul trying to win on the road in Houston. We'll see the Havoc on Friday Night Frisbee next week against the Madison Radicals. There's the 7 that is taking the field for the first point in Bighorns history. Chris Wilson, Harrison Tucker, Aiden Lohman, Mason Zetch, Joel Clutton, Dan Vakarov, and Mark Mendelovitz. Joel Clutton, the biggest name on this line, known for his incredible play in the championship weekend semifinals for the Shred a couple of years ago. Also played with Austin and Dallas. He's their most experienced guy. Dan Vakarov, another guy the Bighorns are excited about, has experience with Chicago and Madison. It's Mark Mendelovitz that launches the opening pull in Bighorns history. For the New York Empire O-line, Jack Williams coming off his highest turnover game in his 98-game UFA career last night. He had 6 throwaways. He hadn't had more than 3 throwaways in a game since the pandemic.
Yeah, the Spiders kind of forcing him into some deep shots that he didn't quite execute on in the wind. Right now, crosswind coming from the bottom to the top of your screen. It has died down as the sun has started to go down, so we'll keep an eye on the wind conditions.
It was windy in warm-up. I asked Joel Clutton what we can expect tonight, and he kind of smiled and said, we're going to hustle. You know, it's going to be sloppy with the wind, and we're going to embrace that. Matt Labar, Elliot Chartok no longer in the backfield. His brother Oliver Chartok is on the starting O-line tonight for New York. Jacob Cowan is back out there, and this pass is intended for Cowan, and Williams is wide open, and the Empire strike in just over a minute for the first goal of the night.
Well, pretty easy sledding there for New York, and they did look patient. It was the toe 3-2. Not a ton of pressure on the resets, though, from Vegas, and that made it pretty straightforward for New York to just wait, bide their time. Got that little strike cut from Saul Rushmeyer-Bailey, and then he opened up that blade that just opened the whole field up for Jack Williams to cruise into the end zone. And plenty of space out here. That 2-3-2 zone, we've seen it, you know, assistant coach Dan Silverstein used to run it with the Spiders. It's a big field to cover with a 2-3-2, though, especially if the wind isn't up. And it has pretty quickly died down here as we get into the evening.
Marquez Brownlee passed by the Madison Radical Peter Graffey for the second most pulls in UFA history last night. It's about 70 pulls behind the former Indy AlleyCat Nick Hutton. And Marquez, by the end of the season, likely will be the all-time pull king, for whatever that's worth. It's probably his greatest achievement in anything he's done in his life, don't you think?
Yeah, it's what he's going to have on his tombstone for sure.
Well, there's Stephen Poulos. He's been around for a long time. He's 44. He's always been a big-time thrower, and he's going to be one of the quarterbacks of this offense for head coach Matt Bowe. Those two go way back to their Carolina days. The deep shot launched by the former Tampa Bay Cannon, Ryan Heiser, and it's a leaping catch for the first score in Bighorns history. It belongs to Brad Ellis.
Are we watching the Oakland game again? A little bit of a highlight package from last night. I mean, this is exactly what the Spiders were doing. Getting into power position, sending shots up to cutters with space. Yeah, showing off the guns. A little Florida Gator chomp and everything. And it's not a perfect throw, but it's deep enough that only one guy can make a play. And I think New York's going to have to be prepared for the deep shots. And I was talking to Coach Anthony Nunez before the game, and he said he expected them to be shooting deep, but New York caught flat-footed on point one.
Brad Ellis, former captain at Utah State. He helped lead that program to college nationals for the first time not too long ago. Ryan Heiser, the former Florida Gator, as you mentioned. Alec Benton launches the pull, and New York's second 0 point begins with Williams picking up.
It's an interesting Vegas team. It's kind of an amalgamation of Florida guys, Vegas guys, and Arizona guys. We'll see how it all blends together with a dose of North Carolina, the head coach, Matt Bode.
Some Utah guys as well.
Yes.
Matt Bode has called his team the replacements. Like, there's a lot of guys that maybe didn't fit into their communities, that for one reason or another haven't found the right fit with the right team, but he likes the potential of their dudes. And, you know, Matt Bode feels like he's the perfect coach for the replacements because he was known in his playing days as a fiery hothead, and those are his words, not mine. New York 2 for 2 on offense as Shepard lasers it for Yacht. And a smooth start. No turnovers through the first 3 points here in Vegas.
Yeah, not much of a problem for New York. I wonder if we're going to see some adjustments here pretty quick from Vegas, because the 2-3-2 is just not creating pressure anywhere on the field right now. New York's kind of just waiting until there's wide opening, and then they're just cruising. No difficult throws. I think we saw a lot of success yesterday with Oakland getting pressure on the resets. We'll see if Vegas can try to find something to at least make that reverse pass more difficult.
Sam Alston launching the pull for New York this time. It's interesting yesterday. The Empire kind of have their D1 and their D2 lines. They got 4 breaks against the Spiders last night. The D1 line only got 1 break, and it was the very first point they played that made it 2-0 at the start. The other breaks came when the D2 line was on the field, and the first break opportunity of the night will come from this D2 line here. Jack Williams out there helping out. And into the end zone. It's the first UFA goal for the Empire newcomer, Drew Schnaudigl, who makes his debut in an Empire jersey tonight. 3-1 New York.
Well, just a sideline trap mark. Difficult reset spot. Vegas doesn't have a good look. Kind of throwing through some contact. Not going to get that whistle. And Drew Schnaudigl, welcome to the Empire. Heard so many good things from him from the coaching staff before the season. And he couldn't suit up last night, and I think they're really excited about what he's going to bring to their defense.
Yeah, he's 24 years old. Anthony Nunez says he's been trying out for the Empire since he was like 18. And at tryouts this year, there was just something different about him. He's been really working hard, been practicing, and he's going to be a nice addition for this team. So Brownlee, Randolph, Agami, Fay, Antoine Davis back out there, along with Ben Simmons and the birthday boy, Shank Galati. Happy birthday, Shank. He turns 30 years old today. Remember when Ben Yacht turned 30 and played in a playoff game and caught the buzzer-beating goal against the DC Breeze a few years back?
He'll hope to have a game like that. I don't know if the stakes are quite as high, though, Evan.
By the way, the opening pull tonight was presented by Pabst Light, America's quality light beer. Vegas taking their time, strolling to the brick mark, and it's Poulos immediately seeing a double team and throwing around it. And it's going to be brought in by a speedy Brad Ellis. Ellis pulls his shorts up and then resets to Poulos, who absorbs the bump, and it is contact against Brownlee.
Stephen Poulos, truly a veteran.
And Shank gets the block as Poulos tried to squeeze it into a spot that really wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't think I'd call that a veteran decision from the 44-year-old.
Started playing Ultimate in North Carolina in Asheville. He was a college tennis player. Deep shot for Antoine Davis, and he's got it. Some contact from behind from Brad Ellis. Just shy of the goal line. Antoine into the end zone to Axel Agami Contreras. And that's now a 3-0 run for New York.
Well, it's also no turnovers for New York. And already looking a little smoother on offense, both on the O-line and the D-line. And great play here to save possession, but then Poulos coming in off the restart just gets greedy, and Alati was paying attention to where the thrower was looking. Easy block, and then going the other way, just sent out into space for Davis. And that's easy money when Davis has steps, no chance, and just takes his time and throws a comfortable flick to Agami Contreras.
Charlie, I was talking with Matt Stevens, who was the sole coach of New York last night. He's got Anthony Nunez back with him this evening. Good to see Anthony. And Matt was pretty direct in kind of calling out his guys, just in a way saying, as it looks like we got a timeout here from the Bighorns. Basically saying everybody on our team needs to look at themselves individually and decide whether they want to put in the work. And he said, personally, I believe the guys are going to do that. But he said he looked around the huddle at the end of the game. Guys were upset, frustrated, the kind of emotions you want to see. And now it's up to us to respond.
And the thing is that this is kind of a good spot to have this game where, if you're the Empire, you expect to win this game comfortably either way, but you can really focus on developing that chemistry within your lines. You can't over-extrapolate how you play tonight into, what upcoming matchups with the Boston Glory and the DC Breeze are going to look like. But you can start to feel good about things again and work on those one-to-one connections. And we'll have to see how much their offensive line gets out on the field. A couple breaks in a row here.
And the Vegas Bighorns turn it over again. Not sure what happened there. Looked down for a second. The disc was on the ground. And the Empire, did he keep it up? No, he did not.
First turn for New York.
Yeah. Vedant Sachdeva playing in his third game as a member of the Empire, his first this season. He was the 21st guy on the sidelines last night. Everest Shapiro kind of jammed his wrist in the third quarter last night. And he's sitting this one out this evening. Big lefty huck launched by Heiser. Joel Clutton in the deep space. He brings it in. Challenged by Schnodigal, but Clutton is a big dude. And he's got the assist. Much needed hold for the Bighorns.
We're going to see a lot of that. Heiser to the big guys. And I think he just got to force Joel Clutton under. And I know he's solid with the disc in his hands, but you can't let him get 3-4 yards of separation deep, even if you're a great defender like Schnodigal. It's like the one guy you don't want to get beat by. You see the little reset turnover, but then New York just gifting it back with sort of a lazy hammer. And then Heiser is going to have gigantic eyes for Clutton with steps. This hangs a little bit, but still, Clutton always going to win that one-on-one. And then just closing out the possessions. And so both of the good O points from Vegas have been deep shots from Heiser.
Yep. Both of them finished with Brad Ellis. He's got the 2 goals for Vegas. Only 7 of the 20 guys in the lineup tonight for Vegas have played in the UFA before. Those 7 guys and the other 13 too, all 20 have played fewer games in the league than just Yacht and Brownlee combined for New York, which puts it in perspective. Yacht and Brownlee after last night have now played 226 games in the UFA.
Every single one of our players.
All 20 guys for the Bighorns have played 224 games previously. Clutton leading the way with 55, with Austin, Dallas, Salt Lake. Yacht swings it for Chartok. Again, not much pressure here from the Bighorns defense, and Vegas just taking what's available. First goal of the night for Shepard.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of... The communication has to be there if Vegas is going to keep trying to run this 2-3-2. And right now, they're just kind of jogging around in sort of the shape of the defense, but they're not actually taking things away. So New York, as soon as they catch the disc, they're looking up and someone's wide open, so they can just move the disc right away. We're not seeing any stall counts get set. We're not seeing any pressure on the resets. It's going to make any offense feel good. A lot of smiles on that New York sideline.
Charlie, how does the first 6 minutes and change pair with what you were expecting if you had an idea in mind coming into the night?
Well, I would say Vegas's O-line looks a little better than I expected, and maybe their defense looks a little bit worse, if that makes sense. I think, they just don't have a ton of depth, so they've got their best players on the O, and so they look okay. They're moving up the fields.
This is Vakarov, who last played in the league with the Madison Radicals. Before that, spent a couple of years with the Chicago Union. He's a big guy, 6'5". McIsaac moves the disc for Mason Zetch. Zetch also has experience with the Austin Soul and Indianapolis AlleyCats. A.J. McIsaac gets it over to Heiser, who finds Vakarov on the doorstep. Double team comes with Aladi. Heiser moves it to McIsaac. And Clutton finds the open space, breaking away from Davis. That was competent offense.
Yes, some red zone patience and not trying to force it. They had some spots where they could have tried to jam a fast forehand to the edge of the field, and they created a lot of space. They kept players out kind of at the back of the end zone to just create ISO space for the handlers, and then one cutter in the middle. And New York did a pretty good job of kind of pinching off the space, pulling off those guys at the back of the end zone, but just good patience from the Bighorns.
There's Matt Bode. He's a professional poker player. He won a bracelet in 2020. It was a $500 buy-in. There were almost 1,200 entries into this online poker tournament. He finished in first place, won over $97,000.
Yeah, Bode is a very good poker player. He's got a crew that he kind of works with here in Vegas, and it just feels so perfect to have him be the coach of this team.
You ask him about his coaching experience. He says, well, I coach poker, and he also coaches high school wrestling. And Matt Bode was a pretty good high school wrestler himself, coming out of Pennsbury High in Pennsylvania, where I think he finished like 5th in the state in his weight class. Which you could kind of envision that, knowing Bode the way you do.
Sure.
Shepard had Chartok going, but instead gets it around to Rushmeyer Bailey. SRB also had 3 throwaways last night, which is unusual for him.
I like the change up here from Vegas.
Chartok for Shepard near the sideline. He ran out of room. I think he leapt from out of bounds. It's the greatest attempt. Is he going to be in bounds? It's caught. No signal yet. The officials looking at each other. Does Matt Labar have the goal? No, now they're signaling it out of bounds, and I think that's the right call.
That was a very late call from the referees. Let's take a look. Where does he leave from? It's hard to tell from that angle.
I think it's the right call.
I think it's the right call. I think his toe was on the line. So first O-line turnover for New York. Yeah. I like the change up there. They went to more of a matchup defense just to try to do something different, because with the 2-3-2 is not working.
Hammer across field, and Callahan country, and almost a sensational layout catch, but through the hands of Harrison Tucker, the youngster who's currently at Arizona State. And now the Empire pickup on the goal line, Rushmeyer Bailey to Williams. We got to take a couple more looks at that Shepard greatest attempt after this point. And it's Rushmeyer Bailey to Williams for an innocuous score. We don't need to see the replay of the goal, but we need to check out how close Shepard was to actually pulling this off. Because
the throw itself was immaculate. It was a great throw back into the open space with float. But I think it's possible his first foot was out of bounds, and then I think maybe his other foot tapped on the ground before he let it go. Take a look on this angle. This throw from Chartok just not what he's looking for. Immediately negatively reacts. Okay, let's see.
Yeah,
He's clearly out of bounds. And his other foot touches down as well. So doubly OB.
I don't know if you remember, Jonathan Nethercutt, when he was with the Flyers, had a Callahan from almost that exact same spot of the field. I think in a game against Dallas. Clutton might have been playing him for that matter. And that Shepard, just the angle, the spot on the field, nearly pulled it off almost the exact same way Nethercutt did. I think in his MVP season maybe back in 2017. Poulos through the contact. And there's no call.
Wow, that's so much contact and no whistle, and it's an easy break for New York.
Brownlee into the end zone for Alston. Love to take a look at the replay here because it certainly looked like Marquez created a ton of contact there. I don't know. Charlie?
Poulos reacted pretty sharply that he got hit, but he could have been embellishing a little bit. I mean, if the disc is still in Poulos' hand, I mean, he's incredulous that he didn't get a whistle here. If the disc was still in his hand, that's a foul. But had he let it go? Maybe. I think that's a foul. Let's take one more look at this. Pivoting out to this backhand side, and does Marquez get a clean block here? No, I think that's clearly still in his hand.
So a break for New York and Brownlee. That pull sails out the back, and it'll be Vegas taking their time, strolling this up to the brick. (7-3) lead for the Empire. 10 minutes gone here in the first quarter. Opening weekend of the 2025 UFA season. Austin, by the way, has pulled away from Houston. They lead 28-19 deep into the fourth. Cross midfield for the owner and player, James Shorey, Oberlin College alum, who is basically the guy responsible for everybody being here tonight, here in Vegas. Just a few miles off the main drag of the strip. Antoine Davis anticipated it, hunted it, and gets the block on Clutton. Davis for the bookends, no, too much. Miscommunication there. Clock will stop. Just under a minute to play in the first as the disc sailed out the back of the end zone.
Yeah, just a misexecuted throw. I mean, Davis had steps.
Jonathan Monforti, our head referee tonight, working with Joe Strong and Undoc Morris. Vakarov will track this one down just across midfield. Over 100 guys came to Bighorns tryouts. They've got 35 on their roster, 20 of course active tonight. The inaugural game of the season and the inaugural game of the franchise, and yikes, that's a turnover it looks like. Oliver Fay bidding into McIsaac. And now the clock winding down for New York. Simmons to Brownlee with 10 seconds. Brownlee's hammer looking for Fay. That's a gorgeous shot from Marquez Brownlee. Into the end zone. The YouTube star on Free Friday Frisbee delivers a dime to Oliver Fay.
That's a dot from MKBHD. And you know, it's one thing to be able to have the power to throw into the end zone in a high stall situation, as we see the turnover from Fay looking for Davis. But then a little drop on the cut to the sideline, and Marquez, he's got the power, but it's also perfectly shaped to go right over the head of the defender, dropping it in and securing a 5-goal lead for the Empire.
New York now 4 for 6 on break chances, a couple of assists for Marquez.
10 seconds.
Brownlee now 31 years old, from the birthplace of Ultimate. He grew up in Maplewood, New Jersey. Do the Vegas Bighorns have a buzzer beater to close out the first inning?
Where's Clutton?
There's Yacht. And Yacht comes up with the block. His second of the season, the 152nd of his career. 1 quarter in the books for the Vegas Bighorns. And Go Clutton doesn't have Elijah Jaime. And this does not have the mystique of championship weekend. But the Bighorns are underway. The Empire lead by 5 after 1 quarter of play here in Vegas. On the grand stage to keep possession. Huge bid, gets the touch.
It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
Throw it the full 80 yards to the field? Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me.
Oh my God!
One of the plays of the year. Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. Opening weekend of the Ultimate Frisbee Association 2025 continues. Huge interdivisional game coming up tomorrow night in Atlanta. It's the WatchUFA.tv game of the week. The Salt Lake Shred and the Atlanta Hustle from Silverback Stadium. 7:30 start Eastern time for the Shred and the Hustle. Then next weekend, Madison and Houston down in the Lone Star State. And then Carolina and Atlanta renew their rivalry in the Week 2 game of the week. Those are the can't-miss games in the Ultimate Frisbee Association, presented by Pabst Light. Second quarter underway. Vegas begins this second period with the disc. Bighorns 82% completion rate in the first. 3 scores, 8 turns. Whoa. Alston and Vakarov shoulder to shoulder. Big collision. And both went down hard.
Yeah, I mean, Alston seems upset, like he feels like Vakarov maybe created the contact. But he's still advocating for himself to get the call. But it's hard for the referees not to give the call to the offense in that situation.
Yeah, would love to see it again. Vakarov will have the disc. And he looked a little confused, but he gets it over to Stephen Poulos, who throws it into the poach, and it's intercepted by Sam Jonas. And here comes New York. Pretty good transition. D-line attack so far. Ben Simmons orchestrating. Back into the hands of Jonas. 24-year-old out of Northwestern. to Alston. Guys like Alston and Jonas and Ben Levy, guys that the Empire are expecting to do big things this year. This intended for Schneidergel, but it's blasted away by Vakarov.
That's the way to get back your turnover. This is a big guy making a big play. And a little bit of incidental contact. That's not a foul, though.
And then the Bighorns
Erased.
just drop a pass up the line. Turnover by Zech. Good field position for the Empire. 2 minutes here into the second quarter. Dmitry Suvorov has his first assist as a member of the Empire. And Ben Levy has the second goal of his UFA career. Scored 1 goal in the 1 game he played last year at Montreal on May 18th.
Let's take another look at this, and you see Vakarov does kind of slow down to try to create this contact. Either way, comes back both ways, and then just a drop on the sideline. It's been execution mistakes that have been the biggest problem for the Bighorns. They've been able to work the disc somewhat against this Empire defense, but tight resets have yielded slight misthrows and a handful of drops.
Glimpse of Anthony Nunez on the Empire sideline. He's been involved in Ultimate since he was 14 years old. Like Marquez Brownlee, also grew up Maplewood, New Jersey, learned the sport at Columbia High School, the birthplace of Ultimate. Heiser able to squeeze it through around the defender Alati. Here's Clutton coming underneath. Chased by Fay. Sun has set here in Las Vegas on this Friday night. Stumble from Heiser. And he pops back up and launches to a wide open Jonah Erb. Empire lost him. And Erb delivers the assist to Clutton for the first goal of the quarter for the Bighorns.
Deep shot still working for Vegas. And impressive for Heiser to be able to slip, reset the pivot, and then drop in to throw to Erb, who is completely unguarded. And Clutton's been as advertised so far. I mean, he's giving them the release valve cuts that they need. It's just going to be such a workload on him. He's playing a lot of deep points too.
I think we're seeing the Bighorns have some pieces.
Yeah.
You know, they certainly don't have the depth to match up with a team like New York. Matt Bode did tell us that he is expecting former Carlton star Dylan Lanier to potentially join the team mid-season, which, you know, he would probably be the best player on the team if he joined, if he's anything like the player that we've come to know, playing in North Carolina. He was the statistician for the Flyers one year when he was taking a season off from Ultimate, but still hanging around the team. There's also Jaime Perez, who's unavailable this weekend because he's coaching the USF men's Ultimate team at regionals, but he's a guy you know for a long time and a talented player, former Tampa Bay Cannon.
Yeah, I mean, you see that like 2 or 3 more pieces that can add some depth to their O-line. Maybe let somebody like Clutton play more D points. They're going to get a win or 2 in the West.
Cowan to Yacht. Ben Yacht was setting that strike cut up the entire point, and he was ready for it when Cowan got that disc. Ben blows a kiss, and the Empire lead 10-4.
And this is really where the disparity has been more clear. The Bighorns defense has really not done anything against this Empire O-line. This looks more like what we expected to see out of New York's offense to start the season.
There's certainly a contrast between the defensive pressure that guys like Max Williams and Robin Vickers-Batstorth were providing last night for the Spiders and what we're seeing here from the Bighorns D-line. And you know, last night had to be an interesting experience for Dan Silverstein, who coached the Spiders, you know, the last half decade, was let go in the off season. And, you know, he's still close with a lot of guys on the team, but he also, you know, was sad to step away. This huck into double coverage is not going to work. It's a block for Sachdeva. Another break chance for the Empire midway through the second quarter.
Lots of reps for the depth on this Empire team tonight.
Which is an important thing for a lot of these young guys who don't have a ton of UFA experience. Levy working with Jonas. Schnaudigl calling for it. I think you're also starting to feel the fact that the Bighorns don't have a ton of depth, and after return, there's not a lot of force from this offensive line from Vegas in terms of putting up much resistance. It's another break for New York. 11-4.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to want to run Joel Clutton both ways all game, I mean, he's going to have to be in the best shape of his life. It's just not really a long-term sustainable plan.
Bighorns 0 for 5. Empire now 6 of 11. That's a break percentage, not break chances. New York O-line has only had the 1 turnover, so the Bighorns, their D-line has been out there 5 times, and they're 0 for 1 on break chances. Empire officially 6 for 9. That's not going to work. And here comes another break opportunity for New York. It's going to be interesting to see how the Empire handle the rest of this game too, because, like, you know, they certainly have an understanding that they are in clear control. But there's a lot for them to work on, and this is an important practice for them with a bunch of other tough games coming up. And who knows, maybe Vegas can make a late run as we get into the second half. Alati was fouled.
I'm going to make a very early note about the officiating in this 2025 season. You're not seeing nearly as many fouls called on the mark. Obviously, we just saw the 10-yard penalty there for the bump. But tonight and last night, there's been a lot of contact that's been allowed to happen. We'll see if that's just an aberration or if we're seeing like a point of emphasis from the officiating crew in the UFA.
It is early, but certainly something to monitor. Brownlee to Alati. Looking for Davis, but he didn't read Clutton there defensively. And another block for Joel. He's going to be sore at the end of the night.
No doubt.
Empire regained possession as we tick under 5 minutes to play in the half. Alati to Agami Contreras, and the footwork has him in the end zone. It's 12-4, another 3-0 run for New York.
I've been pretty impressed with Agami Contreras through 2 games here this season, and you know, he was a good piece for this Empire team last year, but starting to feel like he's having more of an impact for the Empire, both on defense and offense. Look at a couple of returns here. Nice job and awareness for Agami Contreras to sneak that left foot into the end zone. Yes, sir.
And they're excited for this guy who was a really great player at Ohio State. Born in Mexico City, moved to Venezuela, then moved to Cincinnati. member of Team USA U24 mixed. Played just a few games for Chicago back in 2023 before coming to New York last year. Played 10 games, and they're expecting even more from Axel this season. Excellent pull here and pretty good pull coverage as well. The Bighorns in Callahan country. This is McIsaac. Middle of the field, finding Bryson Williams, and now the continue for Vakarov. And to the end zone, Vakarov brings it in. Vakarov didn't like the contact from Alston. Those two have been going back and forth all night.
Vakarov's a fiery guy. He's upset with the official for not getting the whistle as he got stepped on here at the end of this point. Let's take a look. So Vakarov's just tracking this down. He gets a little shove in the back, then he gets flat tired on that right foot. You see his sock sticking out. And Alston's like, chill, dude. But Vakarov and Alston have been going at it a little bit.
They have. Well, they had the collision. Vakarov's going to have to get that cleat back on. Matt Bode did tell us, he said, Vakarov has been the workout beast of the team in the preseason. This is a direct quote. The workouts he's posting, 24 100s at sub 65, quote, he's Bo Kittredge on the track right now.
That's crazy. 6'5", 210, went to college in Northern Illinois, played a lot of years with Chicago Union, played with Madison Radicals. And if they're going to do much this year, for Vegas, it's Vakarov's going to be a big piece of that.
What do you think Matt Bode is thinking right now? About how his team has played. Hopefully we'll hear from him at halftime.
Well, I think he's probably going to feel like the offense is doing okay and that the defense is nowhere close right now. And that's how it's felt. I'm curious because you're talking to him leading up to this game. He had a lot of confidence in the defensive concepts that he wanted to run, and said, we're going to muck it up and slow it down. And they haven't really mucked it up and slowed it down. New York's had easy time getting up the field, and we've seen them just revert back to a straight man defense.
Did not see a signal, but presumably it was a technical foul on Vakarov. That's why the Bighorns pulled from their goal line rather than 20 yards in front of it. New rule change this year in unsportsmanlike, says Shepard with a stall count rising. That's just a gorgeous find, kind of a textbook Shepard throw, angled around the defense as Williams sneaks it through to Labar. Trying to get the break, and he finds the wide open Chartok in the reset space, and a low throw diving down on Rushmeyer Bailey, but he keeps it alive. There's a difference this year between flagrant fouls and technical fouls. Flagrant fouls are basically the unsportsmanlike foul that you would think of in a physical sense, whereas now an argument or bad spirit from the sideline or anything like that would be a technical foul. And theoretically, you could get one unsportsmanlike flagrant and one unsportsmanlike technical and not be ejected. But last night we saw Dylan Burns of the Spiders pick up a couple flagrant fouls, and he got tossed late in that game.
Yep, now Vakarov's going to be on thin ice with the officials moving forward. Beautiful throw there on that replay from Max Shepard. Yacht doing his thing.
By the way,
to be a finisher.
With that goal, Ben Yacht just became the second guy in the history of the UFA to score 400 goals. That was number 400 for Yacht. We all know who the guy that he's chasing, about 200 and some odd goals away from Cameron Brock, who will be making his debut with the Atlanta Hustle tomorrow after a dozen seasons with the Indy AlleyCats.
It's going to be a great game against Salt Lake tomorrow.
What do you think Brock is going to look like? How is he going to fit into the hustle offense? Not only him, but Alec Wilson-Holiday and former Salt Lake shred handler Sean Knoll, who's joining Atlanta going against his old team tomorrow.
It's kind of an open question. I think it's a lot of pieces to integrate. You know, will they all slot right into an O-line that has already been pretty well established? I think that maybe you're going to see them try a couple different things, and it's a big spike.
And that's going to be, I think, a technical foul on Braden Distal, who clearly spiked it right at, and he runs over his teammates. Fun celebration. Hope we got it. 13-6.
Inaugural game crowd here in Vegas. I'm already a big fan of this Bighorn mascot. It's one of the best in the league right out of the gates.
It looks good, and he's having a good time down there.
He's partying.
Stan Silverstein, the former Spiders coach, orchestrating the D-line. Said it's been a long time since he's led a defense. Alec Benton with the pull. San Diego State product who played 10 games for the Shred in their inaugural 2022 season when he was teammates with Clutton. 2 minutes to play here in the first half. Empire O-line still has only turned it over the one time, and they have not been broken so far in the half. This is Jacob Cowan coming underneath, 23-year-old out of Grinnell College. Williams goes down. Foul against Aiden Lohman.
Some confusion about where this disc can get tapped back in, but he wasn't inside the 20-yard line, so he'll have to stay on the line of play.
Williams 18 for his first 18 tonight, throwing with a couple of goals. He was 47 for 53 last night. He's got another completion and his first assist of the evening, finding a wide open Matt Labar in the end zone.
Fans, you do not want to miss the halftime show.
Another pretty easy O point for New York, and that's been the theme tonight.
Live action Frisbee.
I mean, there's plenty of talent on this New York O-line. I mean, they're going to spend more time watching the tape from last night than going back and watching this one. Certainly good for the confidence to come out here and get rolling and have easy scores and not turn it over very much. But they need to identify and correct the problems from yesterday because they need to prepare for the more difficult matchups that they're going to see later in the season. You know, talking to Anthony Nunez before the game, he said clearly there were some chemistry issues, and he wasn't at the game last night in Oakland. He flew in from London earlier here into Vegas.
He said he got yelled at on the plane because he was frustrated watching it on the plane Wi-Fi a couple of times. He was like, why are you doing it? You know, he got chastised for making too much noise.
Sir, you need to relax.
I would understand it too. It's a good play by Alston, getting the block there.
But he said he felt like the cutters were kind of stranding the handlers, and mostly it felt like there was a little bit too much passivity, that cutters were kind of deferring to each other rather than just going out and attacking the space when they were on stage. And he said, you know, we really want to focus on that tonight. And so far, so good.
Yeah. He also used the word they were too polite.
Yes.
Like they needed to be a little bit more aggressive and take that space. Got a fake countdown from the Bighorns crowd the first game. Brownlee's not falling for it.
That's a Frisbee literate crowd.
10 seconds for the Empire. And Jonas flips it into the end zone for Alston.
You know, despite the fact that Vegas has looked maybe better than expected in some ways, this is still a one-sided contest. Just an absolute beatdown in this first half from the New York Empire. Just getting whatever they want on offense. And Vakarov looking into the distance.
Well, the first quarter was 8-3. Second quarter has been 7-3. 3 seconds left for the Bighorns to work with here. Nayland Stewart was late getting on the field. I think the Bighorns did take a timeout, maybe to prevent a delay of game. You need to get your 7 on the line quick. That's part of the game management as well. That Matt Bode, his staff, Dan Silverstein's experience with it. Hunter Frady, the other assistant for the Bighorns. The team named after the Nevada state animal, the desert bighorn sheep. Agile and highly intelligent, the Bighorns represent a team that is highly adaptable to all conditions.
They're going to have to be adaptable this season. Yeah. But I'm interested to see how this Vegas team handles some of the lower tier West Division teams. You know, coming into the season, most people had them at the bottom of their power rankings. Didn't expect much, and I feel like we've been seeing a little bit of punch from the offense.
With the wind at his back, Mendelovitz fires to the end zone, and it's Oliver Fay saying, I want the stat. Ben, you got it in the first quarter. This one's mine. And Fay gets the block, and we have reached halftime as the former Austin Soul gets the final stat of the half. Mendelovitz could have taken just a split second longer before letting that go to give his cutters a chance to get down there.
Flutton was a step or two away from being able to try to make a big-time play.
So 2 quarters in the books as Yacht Freestyles here on Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light. Third member of our broadcast team, Grace Bulow, getting set for a chat with the head coach of the New York Empire, Anthony Nunez. Nunez in his 4th season. Let's send it down to Grace. We're the coach of New York.
Mic's on now. How are you feeling about this game?
Pretty good. I mean, it's kind of what I expected a little bit with Vegas being brand new to the league. But they're definitely athletic. They're putting up some really good deep shots and like making us work a lot harder on, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So pretty good.
Amazing. So I was talking to some Vegas players before the game. They said that New York can't throw in the wind. Did you have a response to that?
Well, I mean, the scoreboard kind of tells us everything, right? We've been throwing perfectly fine in the wind, and we've been practicing in like high winds up in New York in freezing cold weather. So I think we're doing pretty well for throwing in the wind.
Amazing. Okay, last question. What was your mindset coming into this game, and did your game against Oakland last night affect your mindset today?
No, we just wanted to stick to our game plan. We decided to come out as aggressive as possible, and we're going to just continue to grind and continue to be aggressive.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Back to you, Evan.
Grace, thank you. Yeah, I'd say the Empire can throw in the wind. 97% completion rate in the first half, 15 goals, just 5 turnovers. Certainly much improved from the 25 turnovers they had last night, which was the most that the New York Empire have had in a game since the 2018 playoffs, which is hard to believe. It's a long time ago. Frisbee Dogs at halftime. 15-6, New York leads Vegas. The opening weekend of the season here on Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light. On the grand stage to keep possession alive. Huge bid, gets the
It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
Throw it the full 80 yards to the field? Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me.
Oh my God!
One of the plays of the year. Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. Viva Las Vegas! It's halftime here on Friday Night Frisbee. 15-6 is your score. New York leading Vegas. Every week at halftime on Friday Night Frisbee, I'm going to crack open a six-pack. It's the 6 things I'm most looking forward to in the UFA this weekend. Number 1, not what I'm looking forward to, but what we saw last night. The Oakland Spiders, their dynamic debut against the Empire. The Spiders, definitely a team to buy stock in because they are going to be a West contender and perhaps a championship contender. Leo Gordon had a dazzling UFA debut last night. He told me after the game, we want to make a statement. We want to win the West. We want to win a chip. That was his words, so look out for the Oakland Spiders. They're back in action next week on WatchUFA.tv against the Seattle Cascades. Number 2, tomorrow, another interdivisional thriller. Salt Lake at Atlanta. First ever meeting between the Shred and the Hustle. You can see that game exclusively on WatchUFA.tv. Both those teams, last time we saw them, had to deal with a heartbreak of losing a game to go to championship weekend by 1 goal on their home field. The offseason is long after you lose like that to end the year, but the Shred and Hustle fired up to get things rolling. That's our game of the week tomorrow night. Travel gods permitting, I'll be there alongside Adekale Ande and Taylor Minch for the call, the Shred and the Hustle. Number 3, also tomorrow, it's Toba DeCrana's Boston debut against his old team, the Montreal Royale. Toba, the Belgian star, was the Rookie of the Year last year playing for Montreal. He moves to Boston, joining forces with Jeff Babbitt. The Glory, how good are they going to be in the East Division? They went farther than they've ever been before last year, falling to DC in the East Division title game. Looking forward to seeing Toba on Boston tomorrow. And speaking of the DC Breeze, my 4th thing is the Breeze opening their season against the Philadelphia Phoenix. DC, last time we saw them, they were in a brisk wind in Salt Lake City and they did not handle it very well. A long off season for the Breeze. They're back at Carlini Field in our nation's capital tomorrow. The other game on the Saturday schedule on WatchUFA.tv, the Colorado Summit hosting the Oregon Steel. I'm wondering, what will the Summit show us? There has been a lot of work put in this offseason after Colorado missed the playoffs last year. This is a team that has championship weekend expectations, but they got to show us what they can do against a young Oregon team that I feel like is going to be battling with Vegas for the bottom of the West Division, but we shall see. Last thing in my 6-pack, the 2025 international invasion. There are more foreign players in the league than ever before. You look at what Toronto did in the offseason, adding Arvids Karklins from Latvia, Toms Abelteens from Latvia, Tom Blasman from the Netherlands, Simone Gasparini from Italy, Connor McHale from Great Britain. They bring back Mark Lloyd, but Don Desmarais, the Belgian, joins Chicago, and there are just a lot of great international players coming from Europe and also from all around the world to play in the UFA. This has been my Friday six-pack here on Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light. We'll take a quick timeout and then get you the second half action as the Empire lead the Bighorns 15-6, opening weekend of UFA 2025. First game ever for the Vegas Bighorns. They scored 3 goals in the first, 3 more in the second. They trail by 9 at the half. Let's get the thoughts of the first ever Bighorns head coach, Matt Bode. He's standing by with Grace.
All right. How are you feeling?
I feel pretty good. I think our team showed a lot of glimpses of excellence and obviously a lot of, first game blues. That's just going to happen with, being a first-year team.
Yeah, the New York Empire is very, very experienced. You guys have had not a lot of time to kind of gel. How are you feeling like the team chemistry is looking so far?
Honestly, better than I expected. This exceeds my expectations of where we are as a team, and it shows how much growth we have. I mean, the big thing is the UFA in general has a lot of room to grow. You can just tell with the referees out there that they're just inexperienced. As soon as I saw one of the refs that showed up, I was like, he was a bad observer, he's gonna be a bad ref. So the UFA has a lot of room to grow, our team has a lot of room to grow, but I'm excited for the future.
Awesome, thank you so much for your time. Back to you in the booth.
Matt Bode has never been shy about telling anyone how he feels. 35 years old, he grew up in Pennsylvania. Now he lives in Kennewick, Washington, about 35 minutes from Walla Walla, where he plays about 45, 50 events of poker every summer, coaches high school wrestling. And look, he started playing Ultimate in YCC for Anthony Nunez, and he said that Nunez was a big reason why he accepted the job. Nunez was part of talking him into taking on this challenge.
It's incredible, honestly, to think about how Bode has come up through the sport.
Think of the other guys he's played for, too. He played for Mike Denardis. He got to know Tuba Benson Jajai really well. I mean, those are 3 guys, Nunez, Denardis, and Tuba, that he's had long conversations with to try to prepare for this opportunity.
Yeah, and he's not just talked to those guys or knows them personally, but played in their systems, learned how to play Elite Ultimate. And to play for the Empire in the past and now be coaching this Vegas Bighorns team, it's quite the story.
One of Matt's goals coming into tonight was to try to slow the game down to a complete halt.
that has been a failure.
Yeah, they have not stopped the game. Second half is underway. New York begins on offense. Rushmeyer, Bailey, and Williams in the backfield. It's Labar, Chartok, Yacht, Shepard, and Cowan downfield. This has been the primary 7 on offense here tonight. The 7 that started last night too. They did make a switch in the second half, moving Shapiro onto the O-line, and that did help the Empire get going a little bit in the second half, but Everest taking the night off after hurting his wrist in the third quarter against the Spiders.
Gamble in the backfield, and now unmarked throws.
Labar not in, Chartok, but Rushmeyer Bailey has the opening goal. Less than a minute into this third quarter, the Empire have their largest lead of the night, up by double digits for the first time.
Well, it's just been more of the same. You know, Boat said before the game, we don't want to try to go one-on-one with these guys. Their top 5 crush our top 5. And unfortunately, they've had no choice but to try to go to that matchup defense because the zone concepts haven't worked at all. And that's a testament to just how individually talented this New York lineup is.
Rushmeyer Bailey, the Brown product. There's Marquez Brownlee. Marquez gave the commencement speech at his alma mater, Stevens Tech, in the offseason. It was pretty cool. I watched it. It was short, but it was a good speech, as you would expect from Marquez, who is as polished a public speaker as we have in our sport. Vegas turns it over on their first throw here in the second.
Yeah, definitely the biggest celebrity in Ultimate Frisbee.
He signed a lot of autographs after the game last night in Oakland.
Probably going to happen again tonight.
Well, the Vegas experience doesn't just end tonight because most of these New York players are sticking around until Sunday. They got an Airbnb that'll house about 25 people to just, you know, early season team bonding. We've seen the Empire go down to Medellin, Colombia in the preseason for that bonding experience. We saw a couple other UFA teams do that this year.
Yeah, I mean, New York gave up a home game in order to come and play this doubleheader road trip to start their season.
Yes, they did. They'll only have 5 home games this year as Antoine Davis gets another block. And the way the schedule works, 7 of the first 8 games of the season for the Empire on the road before they close with their last 4 at home. I asked Matt Stevens yesterday, like, where do you want to be, you know, in those 7 road games? He's like, if we can go 5-2. I think he said he expects to go 5-2, but you know, they have a road game at Boston, they have a road game at DC, they already lost a road game at Oakland. Contact on the mark, it's going to stay with the Empire. I mean, New York is not going to have very many easy games in the East Division. Even Philadelphia plays them tough. Montreal played them tough last year. Obviously, Boston and DC are championship contenders.
And Toronto, so much improved.
And it's going to be fascinating to see how the Rush come together. They have a new coach, Jamie Millage. Big bid, but no dice for Vegas there. And it's John Randolph with his first goal of the night.
Yeah,
17-6.
New York just taking this Vegas crowd out of the game as they've added to their lead here to start the second half. Just little backhands on the inside. Just New York winning the foot races all over the field.
Well, as you would expect, opening night for a franchise. There are UFA dignitaries in the house. And I am delighted to be joined by the new commissioner of the Ultimate Frisbee Association, Tim DeBile. Welcome to Vegas. You're no stranger to the UFA. You've been involved for over a decade, but this is your first game in person as commissioner in the new season. How's it feel to be here in Vegas, Tim?
Feels great. You know, everybody told me it was going to be too hot to play here. It is chilly right now. I'm a little bit shivery.
This Bighorns expansion team, as the Huck goes up, Harrison Tucker elevates and brings it in. Nice smooth gliding grab. See if they can punch this in for their 7th goal of the night. We have seen some smooth offensive possessions for Vegas, but they have been few and far between. But this one is a nice one. Clutton into the end zone, and Harrison Tucker, who catches the deep shot. Young man out of Arizona State gets the score. For those who are curious, like, how did the Vegas Bighorns come to be? What's the story?
Well, I mean, we get a lot of phone calls and emails about, owners wanting to join the league, and sometimes we talk to them and sometimes we don't. And we got a call from James, who was interested in Vegas, and honestly, I entered that call a bit skeptical. Like, we always want to come to Vegas, but we felt like it was a long way away. But he convinced me to come here and visit with him and visit with the USL team that plays here all summer long. And between them and the USL team, they made a pretty good case that Vegas could support a team in the future. And James was aggressive with his approach, and we felt like we had an opportunity to create 4 divisions of 6, which is what we always wanted. So yeah, I think a lot of things came together, and they're obviously going to hit some rough spots. This is a team that's playing against one of the better coached, more advanced teams in the league here. Yeah. They're going to learn a lot in their first game ever.
You started your own organization, the Madison Radicals, for the 2013 season. What's the most difficult thing about year one and getting a franchise off the ground, getting the word out in the community?
Well, I think that the 2 biggest problems are you need to find staff and people who are passionate about Ultimate, who are going to come in and pay attention to details and make the game day experience awesome. That's one, and then 2, finding fans is always going to be difficult. We're still a sport that not many people know. Those are things that are going to be even harder in Vegas, but James knows that, and I think James is going to work hard at that.
Here's a break chance for the Bighorns. They did not have a break in their only one opportunity in the first half. To the end zone, and it's a goal. Through the contact, it's brought in by Jason Zeidman. He turned 26 years old this past Monday. The physical therapy grad student at UNLV has his first goal in the Ultimate Frisbee Association, and it's the first break ever for the Bighorns. Obviously, the season got underway last night in Oakland. What is your mission statement as the commissioner and leader of the league for the 2025 season? What are you most excited about, and what are the goals that are, realistic, and what are the stretch goals for you as we head into the second half of this decade?
Well, I mean, the goal is always to get more fans in the stands. I mean, that's where we're going to be successful in the long run, and that's what creates a sustainable league. So that's been my case to the owners and coaches and players and everybody in the league, is that we all have to work together to create a great product, and we have to get people watching that product. I think we've done a really good job over the years of creating a really good product. I think when you get fans out now, they'll come back for more games. And we see that in a lot of places across the league. We still have a lot of work to do on that, but the biggest thing is just getting fans in stands. There's nothing else in our mission other than that right now, and so that is our kind of laser focus.
I mean, can you remember a preseason where there was like more unknowns about who the best teams were going to be than the last couple of months, and trying to break down what the landscape is presently?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the great thing that has happened over the years is that more and more teams have upped their game, and so we've created a level of parity, at least in the the top half of the league, where I think you and I had talked about this previously, is that I don't think anyone could predict who the Final Four here is. I think in the first 5 or 6 years that you and I both predicted the Final Four correctly, many years in a row. Now, I mean, I'm not even sure I could get 2 out of 4 correct this year. And I think that's exciting, and that's where we want to get to, where any team can beat any team on any given night, and any team can make the championship any year. I mean, we're never really going to see that kind of parity. No league has that. But I think you see some teams can come up and some teams can come down, and that's good. We want that.
Curious to ask you to put your coaching hat on, because you've got a ton of experience in that role as Ben Yot scores his 401st career goal, second all-time in the league. Double-digit lead reestablished by New York. If you were coaching the Bighorns, with the talent disparity that is apparent, what are the types of things you would do to, try to build culture, try to build belief, and try to be competitive in your first season in the league?
Yeah, I mean, I would expect them. They have some really tall, nice players. I would have expected them to have focus a little more energy on double teaming on the sidelines, throw a little more zone out there. You got Joel Clutton, who is unstoppable in the air, so you might as well put him in the deep spot and make the umpire walk it up the field. So I think there's a lot of things you can do as a new team. And the problem is that they're a new team, right? So they have limited practices to learn everything that you need to learn in the UFA these days. I think when I started, we were the only team doing a lot of that stuff. Now all the teams are doing it, so I think it's just a little bit harder to come in and kind of take a team that maybe isn't as talented and beat a team like New York or play competitively. But they'll learn. There's ways in which you can slow the game down and you can take advantage of the rule set that we created to make it hard on better teams than you. And I think that's one of the reasons you see more parity is teams started to pick that up. I mean, we saw it in the championship weekend last year. I think Minnesota used a lot of schemes.
James Shorey to the end zone. That's a moment he will never forget. The owner of the Bighorns has his first goal in the UFA. As you would expect, the smile a mile wide.
Happy for him. Very happy for him.
Tim, before I let you go, championship weekend heading back to Madison for the 4th time. Yesterday, the UFA announced that in addition to the semis and the finals and everything else that makes championship weekend at Breese Stevens Field so special, there will be a women's ultimate all-star game. The Western Ultimate League All-Stars versus the Premier Ultimate League All-Stars as the undercard, the first game on Saturday before the championship. How did this come together, and what are you most excited about putting that on display at Breese Stevens Field?
Well, I think that there's been a lot more discussion between the UFA and the PUL and WL over the last few years, and we've always wanted to find an event for Saturday before a game. We have 2 games on Friday night and then just the solo game Saturday, and I heard a rumor that they were looking for a place to put the game, and so we got together and had a discussion, and I think all 3 parties felt like it was a great opportunity to showcase both those leagues and an opportunity to have this first ever event. So
Ben Yot going deep, floater from Labar to the open space, and Yot brings it in for his 5th goal of the night.
So yeah, I'm really excited to work with both the leagues and put on an incredible event for them and with them. And I think it's going to be great for fans, and it's going to give another reason to come to championship weekend. You have 2 games on Friday night. You can hang out in Madison during the day, which is one of the best places to be in the summer probably in the world. And then you have 2 games in the evening again. So I think we're trying to make that weekend the destination for Ultimate fans, and I think this is just going to make it even better.
I get asked a lot, what's my favorite place to travel in the UFA? And look, I like going a lot of different places. I feel really fortunate. But going to Madison is special because of Breese Stevens Field and the fan base that you have built. And the cheese curds that you guys make in Madison are absolutely delicious. The beer always tastes good too. Hopefully we'll have some Pabst Light there this year and enjoy some of that. Tim, thanks for joining us. Congrats on becoming commissioner of the league, and we'll see you next Friday night on Friday Night Frisbee down in Houston.
Thanks for having me, Evan.
Tim DeBile, the new commissioner of the UFA, taking over for Steve Hall. He is the 4th commissioner in UFA history, joining Steve Hall, Steve Gordon, and Josh Moore. Reset throw off the hands of Heiser there, and the Empire will look to take an 11-goal lead as I welcome Charlie Eisenhood back in. Charlie, I don't mean to put you on blast, but you put your winter coat on. It is a little chilly here. I respect it.
It's not my winter coat. This is my light spring coat, Evan. But yes,
warm,
it's chilly. It's chilly as a typical desert here in Vegas. Before June, July, when it can get really hot here and only cools down into the 80s overnight, it can get pretty cold here in Las Vegas.
Empire convert the break, and Vedant Sachdeva scores his first ever UFA goal. So for Sachdeva, 30-year-old out of Rutgers, played a 5th year at University of Chicago, and I don't know if you call him an international import because he's been in the U.S. since he was a young kid, but he was born in India, has lived all over, spent time in Kansas and Texas and New Jersey, started playing Ultimate as a high school senior, and Sachdeva with the goal for New York to make it 20-9. 3:35 to play here in the third. Another pull for Marquez. Brownlee will be headed to Chengdu, China this summer with the USA World Games team. And for Marquez, it really is an incredible ascent because he's always been a very solid player. Like, he had some great highlights during his Philly days that got him on SportsCenter, and you know, he's always been a really solid player. Yeah. But to get to the point where he's one of the 7 men on the USA World Games team, he has put in so much work and improved immensely to get that honor of representing the country this summer.
It really is remarkable, and it speaks to his ability to play a lot of different roles. I mean, that's often what they're looking for this World Games team. You know, he's a great puller. He grew up as a defender, but increasingly we're seeing him leading the way on offense. He was even crossing over a lot onto the offensive line last night when they needed to get some scores on the board against Oakland. And that's not a role we ever used to see him play.
He only played like 6 0 points the last 2 years. He played 3 0 points last night as Clutton finds the end zone again for Vegas. All those who said the Bighorns wouldn't get to double digits, you were wrong. 20-10, 2:25 to play here in the third.
Well, I mean, we are in Vegas. The spread on this game was New York -9.5, so they're covering the number right now. But, you know, Vegas got a break there while you were talking to Tim.
This has bad beat written all over it.
Oh, yeah, that's the backdoor, you know, garbage time goals coming from Vegas here late.
How about 53 goals scored in Houston tonight? Austin 30, Houston 23. I hope you had the over there.
Yowza. I was thinking Houston might have a puncher's chance in that game, but no Dalton Smith tonight. I'll be really interested to see that Havoc team at full strength, and we'll get an interesting test when they play the Madison Radicals next weekend.
.30 goals, only 13 turnovers tonight for the Soul, who were led by Jackson Potts, Kyle Henke, both +6. Max Shepard, crossfield hammer. See it catch the wind a little bit, but it still finds Matt Labar. After tonight, New York is off next weekend, and their only home game in the first 2.5 months of the season is against Montreal on May 9th. To the end zone and brought in by Cowan, who's got some size as well, 6'4". Started playing Ultimate as a freshman at Beacon High School in New York City.
This was a dunk. Cowan holding off the defender with the left hand, going up with the right. And that throw coming in just to the right spot there from Yacht. Cowan had a bit of a slow game last night, but looking more comfortable out there tonight.
Yeah, this game could be an important game for him. After that home game against Montreal, the next 4 all on the road, at Boston, at Montreal. I should say the next 5 out on the road. At Boston, at Montreal, at Philly, at Toronto, at DC. That's a gauntlet for New York. I mean, you did say last night that this could be the get-right game for the Empire, and look, I don't know if this means that everything's going to be right. They need to integrate Calvin Brown into the lineup. He's going to be a big piece for them if they're going to get where they want to go this year.
I think he would have helped their offense immensely yesterday in Oakland.
Absolutely.
Just right now, the Empire doesn't really have a handler who likes to huck. Jack Williams will huck. but he struggled a little bit last night in the windy conditions. Solomon Rushmeyer-Bailey, he's not trying to huck. And Calvin Brown is someone who has the green light and can hit those tough deep throws. And you need that dynamism in order to beat the top teams in the league.
You know, I hadn't really thought about it in that way, but you are absolutely right about Rushmeyer-Bailey and Williams not being, you know, guys that love the huck. They're more possession-oriented handlers. Jack notoriously hates turnovers, so you can only imagine what the last, 20 hours has been like for Jack after the 6-turnover game he had last night.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to him after the game, and he wasn't happy with how he played, or really how the O-line played, but I think they also understand that they're a really good team that came up against a good opponent on the road in week 1 and hadn't really had a lot of time to play together in a hostile environment.
Feisty crowd.
Yeah, and so I think if you write the New York Empire off now and say, well, there's no way they're winning the East because they lost this game to Oakland, it's much too early to say that. I do think that they have to get better, and I think you look at what we saw from DC and Boston last season, the continuity that they have, some of the new pieces that they add, and they do feel like they're a little bit above the Empire right now. But the new pieces for New York are super interesting, and I mean they had a bottom quarter defense last year, and if they can start to turn up the blocks again this season, there's no reason that they can't be back at championship weekend.
Part of that defensive inconsistency was the guys that they lost on the roster earlier in the year, like Jeff Babbitt and Ryan Oscar, 2 MVPs of the league that they kind of expected to have on the O-line. And when you lose those guys, you got to bring 2 pretty big pieces over from the D-line, including Ben Yott, who had been the anchor of the D-line the previous couple of years when they went 15-0 in 2022 and 15-0 again in 2023, part of their 31 consecutive victories, which is the longest winning streak in the history of the league. Do the Empire have a third quarter buzzer beater? Looking for Davis. It's off his fingertips, and he cannot bring it in. Clutton there defensively, and the third quarter comes to a close. Empire winning that third quarter 7-4. Was the closest quarter of the game. Previous were 8-3 and 7-3. So the Bighorns finding their footing. The entertainment capital of the world. The site of the first episode of Friday Night Frisbee here in 2025, presented by Pabst Light. On the grand stage to keep possession. Huge bid, gets the touch.
It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
Throw it the full 80 yards to the field? Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch.
You are kidding me. Oh my God!
One of the plays of the year. Throw like a pro with the new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. Free Friday Frisbee rolls into the fourth quarter as we take a look at the stats through 3 after 25 turns last night. The Empire with only 8 turnovers through the first 36 minutes this evening, Charlie. The numbers, as you would expect, sparkle for New York and leave something to be desired for Vegas.
Yeah, that 102 out of 121 completions is good for 84% for Vegas. That is not a good number. The worst team in the league last year in completion percentage was at 89%. So they're going to have to step up in a major way later this season if they want to get a win on the board.
I think we saw both DC and Atlanta have, the best completion percentages ever in UFA history last year. Now DC's season completion percentage took a little bit of a hit at championship weekend.
Yeah, both those teams over 95%. The leaders in the category, though, and I don't think they're going to hold this title anymore, were the AlleyCats, playing indoors.
Yeah. They also played a possession style of ultimate that didn't always lead to scoring goals. They got the offense tired. Deep shot intercepted by Sachdeva. Vedant has had a nice night. He's come a long way. Matt Stevens was telling us, he said like a year or two ago he was on a 35-man roster. He was probably number 40. But now he has worked his way up into contention for a spot in the active 20 and getting an opportunity tonight and making it count.
Well, that feels like what it's about tonight for New York, is getting guys reps, letting them play together in the kinds of units that they want to try out later this season. And I mean, it's white flag territory right now for Las Vegas. They're just throwing up prayers.
Sam Jonas looking for Drew Schnodigal against Joel Clutton. The wind pushed it back and enabled the hustling Ben Simmons to make the catch. And then Suvorov just flips it into Alston, but he's not in yet. So back it goes to Jonas and Alston. Empire seemingly a throw or two away from their 12th break of the night. And there it is. Former Philly Phoenix, Dmitry Suvorov with the score.
Take a look, moving the mark. Jonas opening up some space for the backhand. And then breaking the mark, past the laying out defender. Clutton looking for answers.
Marquez Brownlee back on the field for New York. A 23-10 lead with 10:49 to play. It's fun watching the bottom line, our new ticker this year. Live score updates throughout the season. On weekends where there are like 14, 15 games going on, the ticker is going to be really helpful to have on every game on watchufa.tv.
Yeah, keep up with everything. Don't have to look away from the broadcast.
Charlie, you might be too young, but like I remember, I think like when ESPN2 first introduced the bottom line.
I remember. I was a kid. But that was a crazy innovation at the time. And then they started keeping it up during commercials. I feel like I barely watch ESPN anymore.
Into the end zone goes John Randolph. And the lead swells to 2 touchdowns for New York at 24-10.
Yeah, you're looking for a call. I mean, just catch it, You
do see the Bighorn mascot there in the corner. Shout out to the Bighorn mascot, Biggie. He has been energetic, dancing, getting the fans hyped all night long. Not since Ace the Aviator have I seen a first-year mascot with this much verve as Biggie.
He's been going hard. The DJ's been going hard. Fans having a pretty good time. It's starting to get a little chilly seeing the jackets come out. I'm gonna have to get some Bighorn swag before I leave town.
Represented in New York City.
Yeah.
we were having lunch today and saw a guy with a Vegas Bighorns shirt walk by, and we're like, whoa. And it actually was Seattle Cascades captain Garrett Martin, whose brother Ryan is on the Bighorns roster. He wasn't active tonight, but Garrett made the trip with the Cascades Idol this weekend to come watch Vegas's first game, and we ran into Garrett and the Seattle Cascades coming off a championship weekend appearance. The West Division, you know, I feel like you Northeasterners, Charlie, didn't take the West seriously for a long time, with a lot of good reason, because at championship weekend, their only win in many, many years is the Joel Clutton deflection game. That's the only win for the West Division at championship weekend since the Flamethrowers won it all back in 2017, if you think about that. But the West Division is different this year, especially with what we saw from Oakland last night, Seattle trying to build on what they did, Colorado and Salt Lake both formidable as well.
Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, like, definitely felt like Pac-12 after dark for a while there. It was like, oh, we can tune into some crazy games where no one really plays defense. And, you know, we knew a team was going to qualify, and usually we were going to get smacked around by the top teams from the rest of the league. But I agree with you. I think that more than ever, the West has teams that look very formidable. And Oakland, Colorado, Salt Lake, Seattle, all credible playoff teams. And I think that, you know, whoever emerges from that group is going to be a realistic competitor at championship weekend to go win the whole thing. I don't know. My money right now is on Oakland, and I promise I'm not just overreacting to last night. Looking at the roster coming into the season, seeing that Colorado really underperformed last year, Salt Lake losing a couple of pieces, Seattle, you know, Khalif is gone, losing a couple pieces. I really liked what I saw preseason from Oakland, and I feel like the guys lived up to the expectations last night. I mean, Lil Gordon, I know it's been one game, but what more do you want from a handler on your O-line?
An incredibly impressive debut for the former college champion at Brown. Whoa. Oliver Fay was just pushed down. He was trying to set a mark, and Alec Benton ran him over. And this is going to force the Bighorns to the back of the end zone. Yep. Clear foul. Charlie, I have a question that is not who are you picking to win the championship. The question is, in the Eisenhood Sportsbook, who is the preseason favorite with the best odds to win the championship?
Oh, man, that's a tough call. I think
Davis to Fay to buy Charlie an extra couple of seconds to think with 7:56 to play in the game.
It is a difficult call. I think the thing is, I think the best teams in general are concentrated in the East still, but it also means that it's more difficult for any of those teams to simply get to championship weekend.
You mean the East Division or the East Coast?
Division is what I meant, but you know, you look, I think my answer is probably Atlanta, which is kind of crazy to say, but I think that they've
never been a championship weekend before.
Exactly, but I think that they have the right pieces. I feel like I like their outlook in the division. They feel like the clear favorite in the South. And that means that they have that path to championship weekend. It looks a little bit better than it does for a Boston or a DC or a New York. And same thing in the Central, right? It's Chicago and Minnesota are going to duke it out for who gets to make it out of there. They're both very good teams. But I think it's very balanced. I think Atlanta, Boston, Chicago are probably like my top three. DC maybe slightly beneath that, but there's a bunch of teams that are realistic champs, and I don't think anybody's odds are going to be better than about plus 500.
Timeout here for Vegas. Let's see if we can eavesdrop.
We need you. We all need you. This is the fourth quarter.
Bo said he was going for the Hunter S. Thompson look. He's not rocking the sunglasses anymore now that the sun's gone down. But
I'd say for a game that's 26-10, the body language in that huddle is pretty good from the Bighorns.
I think realistically, everyone on this team and in this franchise knew that they were going to lose this game to start their season. I mean, this is a brutal scheduling call from the UFA to give New York to Vegas in their very first game as a franchise. So I think you try to look at the bright side if you're Las Vegas and think about how you can take some of the good things from tonight into the rest of the season. And
I don't know if it does get easier because their next game is at Salt Lake. Although the Shred, lost a bunch of guys, so who knows? They'll
Salt Lake's gonna crush this Vegas team. I'm afraid to say, but I think they have a chance to beat some of the lower ranked teams, Los Angeles perhaps later this season.
Play Oregon twice, Los Angeles once. This seeming score looks like it's coming back. Yeah, mark down May 23rd when Vegas hosts Oregon.
A little high release flick huck and a little snag.
Clutton may have called an injury. He has come off the field. Poulos connects. AJ McIsaac has the score. Good to see AJ feeling better. Apparently he was in the ER yesterday with a migraine and just did not feel well, but back in action today. And Poulos picks up the assist. Hard to believe that's the first assist for Poulos. You see Clutton. Poulos has 6 turnovers. Bode expected that, but he said before the game, 8 assists, 6 turnovers from Poulos. He's got 1 assist.
I mean, it's a very Poulosian expectation. You look at when Stephen Poulos was playing for Nashville back in 2018. He had 59 assists in 12 games that season with 58 turnovers.
Yeah. Finished 7th in the league in assists in that season. 2 of the guys that were ahead of them that year are in this game tonight, Ben Yott and Max Shepard.
Probably worth a comment on Max Shepard and how he's fit in pretty nicely here so far with New York. I thought he was one of their better players last night in Oakland. And he's hit some nice shots tonight. Not trying to do too much, but also not afraid to take some shots.
And had some really sweet throws. And unlocked some.
He has a great ability to see space on the field and then deliver a throw to the space.
Yeah.
That's catchable. And he'll throw guys completely open.
Another easy score. Cowan to LeBar. Not exactly Oscar to Babbitt, but it's a new era here in New York.
Yeah, and that's going to be the question for New York coming out of this weekend. I don't think anybody's going to look at this result tonight and be particularly surprised. I think the focus is going to be on what happened last night and how they're going to stabilize their offensive line against tough pressure.
All smiles on the Empire sideline as they lead 27-11. Empire had a couple double-digit wins last year. They beat Toronto by 11. They also beat Salt Lake by 11 in that lopsided game in Hartford. This is the owner, James Shorey, who caught 1 goal earlier tonight. He's certainly got plenty of fans in the stands, friends and family that have been cheering him on. That throw unable to Heiser into the hands of Heiser.
Good one. Got to bring it to ultimate, Evan.
Did I say it properly?
Yeah, you sure did.
Marquez Brownlee looking long, and a backpedaling Fay brings it in. Fay cross field for Davis. 28-11 as the Empire continue to pile it on. Well, my podcast colleague Adam Ruffner, his preseason power rankings, you see the top 12. We've got Minnesota #1. I think that's a token of respect for the wind chill. Boston 2, Chicago 3.
Oakland's going to fly up the board after this weekend, obviously.
Absolutely.
And I don't even know if you need to downgrade New York much. Who are you moving in below on this list? I just think Oakland's actually a top 5 team in the league right now.
Where would you put them?
Well, I don't fully agree with these power rankings right off the top. I mean, I don't think Minnesota's the #1 team in the league right now. I think I'd probably go Boston, Chicago, DC, Atlanta, Oakland. That's my top 5.
Say it one more time.
Boston, Chicago, DC. Who did I just forget?
Atlanta, Oakland.
Atlanta, Oakland. Yes.
I would be fine and delighted to be proven wrong on Boston, but I need to see it from them before I put them #1 or #2 in my perception. Oh my. It's a goal for Adrian Cisneros. Nearly collided with teammate Brent Moore in the process of hauling in the hammer. Oh God, Vakarov colliding with Cisneros.
Cisneros just snatching that away from Vakarov. Gotta snag some stats. Nice hammer.
Adrian Cisneros will celebrate his 25th birthday on Sunday. Colorado kid, played YCC for Colorado Cutthroat, team that competes in the Youth Club Championships. Obviously a huge weekend for college ultimate this weekend, Charlie, across the United States, with a lot of regionals, national qualifying tournaments getting underway tomorrow.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks away from the college championships up in Washington State. A lot of great UFA players going to be in attendance.
It's 4 weeks from now.
Sweet Caroline.
We got a timeout, I believe, called on the sideline, which gives us a chance to remind you that tomorrow night in the UFA, the game of the week features the Salt Lake Shred and the Atlanta Hustle. Two teams that envision being in Madison in late August for championship weekend. Salt Lake began the season last year on their home field with a impressive interdivisional win over DC. And then next Friday night, we'll be down in the Lone Star State. Madison taking on the Havoc in Houston. A week from tomorrow, Saturday, May 3rd. South Division showdown, Carolina and Atlanta. There are a lot of great rivalries in this league, and it's really tough to pick the best because, look, Salt Lake, Colorado's been good. New York, DC, New York, Boston, Boston, DC. Atlanta, Carolina might be the best of them all right now.
It's going to be an awesome battle in this regular season to see who can get home field. And then, you know, can Atlanta finally get over the heartbreak that they've had in the postseason?
Certainly a new era for the Flyers with Mike DiNardo stepping aside. He's still the owner, but after coaching the team since its inception 10 years ago, Michael Avila takes over for the Flyers. They've got a tough schedule as well. 4 meetings with Atlanta. They have a game against DC, road trip to Philly and Pittsburgh. Interested to see how the Flyers look in the new era. It's looking like New York might crack 30 tonight. 29-12 with 3:19 to play.
Yeah, I mean, New York's level of execution has just been so much higher than it was last night. They were 4 for 5 on Hucks, 97% completion percentage. The O-lines only had 3 turnovers. They only have 9 total turnovers as a team.
Last time the Empire scored 30 goals in a game was when they absolutely obliterated Boston 32-18, July 9th, 2022. That was part of the undefeated season where the Empire outscored their opponents by exactly 100 goals, an average of 8.3 a game over their 15-0 run to a title. Last time the Empire lost their season opener was 2018. They did end up at championship weekend that year, if you remember. Antoine Davis, another block. Marquez Brownlee will trot over and pick it up. 4 assists so far for Marquez. And there's number 5. A 30-burger here in Vegas for New York.
Whatever their final score is, I think we need to see the team head over to the roulette wheel and stick some money down. It's meant to be, Evan.
John Randolph celebrating the moment. Empire still with single-digit turnovers tonight, just 9 turns in the game. 30 goals, 9 turns. In the words of Larry David, pretty good.
Yeah, you know, one thing that I feel like is carrying over from last season, as we see a turnover from Vegas, is that the New York D-line, when they get the disc, are very good, particularly their D1, led by Brownlee. I mean, Brownlee has 5 assists tonight, no turnovers.
Oliver Fay all alone in the end zone. The Vegas Bighorns were walking to the sideline when that disc was still in the air. That's not great stuff to show on film in your first ever game, and I imagine Matt Bove might have a chat with his team about that. 31-12 now for New York.
But yeah, this D-line, you know, they can score when they get the disc. They have a lot of offensive talent out there. And the problem last season is that they couldn't get enough blocks. They just weren't getting the disc off of their opponents enough. And that's going to have to be, and it has been, a focus of this offseason.
As you said, Brownlee with the 5 assists, Yacht leading the way with 5 goals. Also an assist and a block for Yacht with no turnovers. Antoine Davis, a 1-2-3 stat line, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 blocks for the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year. Seattle's Lucas Ambrose took that honor a season ago. He's led the league in blocks each of the past 2 years for the Cascades. Excited to see what he does in year 3, and excited to see if teams still let him get Ds, or they just kind of try to get him out and play 6-on-6 as best they can. As Axel Agami adds 1 more to the Empire tally.
I mean, this game has been in garbage time since halftime. What a beatdown from the Empire.
It was 15-6 at the half, 17-6 here in the second half, and really it has widened here in the fourth, where the Bighorns just completely ran out of gas. 9-2 here in the fourth quarter in New York's favor. But I'll tell you, Biggie the Bighorn is undeterred, leading this crowd. give that mascot a pat on the back after the game. He might be the team MVP for the night.
He's going to be more tired out than the Vegas D-line.
Bryson Williams able to bring it in just shy of the goal line. Crowd still cheering, and the Bighorns score for the 13th time. Snaps a 4-0 New York run. Charlie, who's your player of the game for New York?
Oh man, my snap take is Brownlee, but yeah, I think I'll stick with it. I think it's Ben Marquez. He's really marshaled the D-line offense tonight. But it's hard to get a read. We've seen so much of the depth get playing time tonight. Plenty of guys putting up numbers.
Rushmeyer Bailey leads the team in passing yards with Brownlee's number 2. Marquez 20 for 20 passing with the 5 assists, 6 assists now. Another block for Vakarov. He's had some moments.
I mean, you see the initial pieces of an offense.
This would be the second break of the night, and it will not come to fruition, at least on that throw. A little bit behind the intended target, Mason Zech. So the final seconds ticking away here in Las Vegas, Nevada. The New York Empire will finish this weekend 1-1. A disappointing loss in Oakland last night, but New York does spoil the party as Jack Williams throws the final pass into the stands. 32-13, Empire get their first win of the season. And for the Vegas Bighorns, an enthusiastic and sincere welcome into the Ultimate Frisbee Association, and we're excited to see what they can do over the course of year 1, what they can build here in this incredible city.
Yeah, I think, you know, if they can pick up a couple of guys mid-season perhaps that add some firepower and, you know, finish the season with a couple wins, I think it puts them on a path towards growth long-term. You know, if they can start to peel away some of the top talent in the surrounding area, Northern Arizona, it's definitely possible for them to have a competitive team a couple years down the road.
Final score, New York 32, Vegas 13. We'll take a quick break, come back and chat with the player of the game here on Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light. On the grand stage to keep possession. Huge bid, gets the touch. It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease. Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God! One of the plays of the year. Throw like a pro with the new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today. The New York Empire take down the Vegas Bighorns 32-13. Our player of the game, Marquez Brownlee, 6 assists and a block with no turns. Marquez is standing by with grace.
Marquez, how are you feeling about tonight?
Pretty good. Much nicer weather than yesterday, much better game than yesterday. We feel pretty good. Yeah.
So, with a tough loss from last night, but a pretty decisive win tonight, how are you feeling about the rest of the season for the Empire?
I feel like we treated this weekend in general as a learning experience. We've been at each other's throats the whole preseason, D-line versus O-line, working on things, getting better. So this is the first opportunity to test it against other teams. Learned a lot and feel really good about continuing to get better for the rest of the season.
That's amazing. So someone once commented that you're very experimental with your throws. How do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like you're always trying a new throw? Do you feel like you have, like, what's your mindset around that?
I watch a lot of basketball. I compare it to, it's just a lot of reads. So there's players, I watch Kyrie and Steph play a lot, and their offense is reacting to what the defense allows. So it looks like they're trying new things all the time, but it's really because that's what they're being forced into, and they can still come up with something to work for it. So that's kind of how I feel too.
Perfect. Okay, last question. Road to Champ Weekend. What does that look like?
That looks like us getting better every game. This is the first 2 games of a long season. This is our floor. We hopefully get better every week. We get better at practice from the tape, and by the end of this regular season, we're a scary team.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Back up to the booth.
Thank you, Grace Bulow. Nicely done. Thanks to Marquez Brownlee. This city is different. This night was different. And this weekend, this season should be different, really, across the league. Charlie, what are your final takeaways as we look at the numbers? Just 10 turnovers tonight for New York after 25 yesterday in Oakland. Give me a big picture takeaway from tonight and the weekend and the season as we wrap things up.
All right. Well, for Vegas, I think the takeaway is you got a lot of getting better to do. But there are some things that looked decent out there for them. They had some nice O points. The hucking game looked pretty good at times. Thought Ryan Heiser was impressive. So some things to build around. And getting blown out by the best team of the last 5 years in the UFA is nothing to be ashamed of. For New York, I think it's clearly work in progress. And I think they overall feel better about where they are at this time than they did a year ago. But they're going to have to improve if they want to get out of the East. And, when you kind of look big picture, Evan, at the entire league from this weekend so far, I think exactly what we expected is playing out. It's a wide open season. There's a lot of good teams. Nobody is safe. If you show up and you don't play well, you're going to lose.
Certainly a lot of exciting ultimate ahead. The action this weekend continues on Watch UFA TV. We'll get our first looks at both Salt Lake and Atlanta as they go head-to-head. Also Boston and D.C., New York's toughest contenders in the East Division. We'll also see what the Colorado Summit have to offer in their home opener tomorrow night against the Oregon Steel. Next Friday night, our Friday Night Frisbee Showcase presented by Pabst Light. We'll head down to the heart of Texas. Houston versus Madison in another interdivisional early season statement game for both teams. Empire spoil the party here in Vegas, but hopefully better things ahead for this new expansion team in the Ultimate Frisbee Association. Matt Bode leading this Bighorn squad, but Ben Yacht with just too much firepower in the tank as the Empire win it by a final score of 32-13. We thank you for spending your Friday night with us here on YouTube and WatchUFA.tv and wherever you have tuned in to see the Ultimate Frisbee Association. WatchUFA.com for full schedules, results, Tuesday toss recap coming up in just a few days, and so much more. Always a pleasure to work with Charlie Eisenhood, the Ulti-World Czar, and our production crew led by Luke Johnson. I'm Evan Lepler. Good night from Las Vegas.